Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. I want to talk about mercenaries, contractors. This is something that I don't think people are caught up on what's going on this. What's got my attention was, we're in Afghanistan and Iraq and all this. We've been spending a lot of money, and I started looking at where is this money being spent, and it looks as if the United States has been spending a lot of their money on private contractors, mercenaries. And that started making me think and started looking around, and it's mercenaries is something of the past. And I want to say this in the way of from the past. I don't even know when, maybe a couple hundred years ago, about as long as the United States has been going, I guess, something like that. Before that, all through history, there has been mercenaries. The Romans used mercenaries. Everybody used mercenaries. You might know them as warlords. And they've been around since the beginning of history, human history. And I think this is something that is going to make its comeback. Now, first I started thinking, well, where did it go? I mean, if we had it, and then why did it stop? And really about where the end of mercenaries that I can think of, and I'm just kind of throwing thoughts out, is during the ships, when we were shipping things across the ocean, stuff like this. And I say this was, I say Christopher Columbus time and stuff like that. All these pirates, all the pirates are mercenaries. And so, in other words, mercenaries have been going along, and when did they really stop? And I'm thinking, I'm a Marine, and Marines were started before even America started. So, I mean, United States. Before the United States, there was the Marines. And, they were fighting pirates, the Muslims. They were fighting Muslims, and even the Muslims. When I think about it, it wasn't. I call it. We were fighting Muslims. Well, and it was. But the thing was, I'm thinking it's not really the Muslims at that time happened to be mercenaries. So there's a point where you fight for your beliefs and you fight for money. And that's where I think is what's going on. Even now in Syria, when you think about Syria, just about everybody that's fighting in Syria are mercenaries. Either they're hired by the United States, or they're just plain mercenaries. And mercenaries fight for money. So some way or another, they're getting paid. Now, are they getting paid by You know, these billionaires. I mean, there's a lot of billionaires in the world. So the mercenaries are getting paid by somebody. A lot of times, now I noticed when I got out of the Marines, or out of Vietnam, I came back in 1969, and they were looking to hire not only me, but people like me. Anybody with combat experience, they were ready to hire. And who was they? Well, in my particular case, it was Israel. Israel was starting, and they needed experienced fighters, and they would use mercenaries. And this happens in all countries, even in Africa. I know people that are contractors in Africa. And, you know, now how do you protect yourself? You got to remember, law enforcement is down the ladder from mercenaries. In other words, police don't really have power if there's mercenaries around. If there's true combat people, police have no authority. And so we look at ourselves as civilized. So we see police and law enforcement as some type of authority over us. But the reality is, once these private armies get going, law enforcement does not exist. And you can see that, like I say, in Afghanistan, Syria, all these places, Africa. There's a lot of places like that where the armies are the ones that are in control. And I've been thinking about the United States. You know, even the Crusaders, they would be, what do you call it, mercenaries also. I mean, they traveled around doing stuff. Well, they had to, they had their needs. They were hungry. They needed shelter. They needed weapons and stuff like that. And even they, when you look at the combat type view of looking at it, they would be just another opposing army to the Muslims. So they have their needs. So they're going to, and they outruled any kind of law enforcement. When the militaries aren't in your area, then you will have the sheriff of, what was it? I can't remember the name. In Britain, you know, the sheriff would protect the deer, the king, and stuff like that. But when the military comes in, when these private forces come in, the sheriff means nothing. So, and this is something I've been thinking about here in the United States. And like you say, we've already seen how our government has just kind of got stupid. And I'm questioning if we're ever going to get back to the way it was. And I don't think so. And that's going to leave a vacuum from responsible, moral people when they don't have a stand. That means you're opening yourself to immoral and people that have strength over you will take advantage of you. I mean, like I say, these militaries will come in and they're going to have needs. And it won't be just simple food and shelter. They need pay. So some way or another, and the dollar will be worthless. So You know, what price are you going to pay to keep these people from your women and, you know, your children and stuff like that? This is something that's been in history of mankind clear up until recently when we got civilized. But it is a reality that I think is not that far off. I could see how something like that is going to be in our future. Now, I mean, the United States got private armies. Russia's got private armies, militaries. I don't know about China. Even though, you know, warlords, when we think of warlords, that's what we think of China, Genghis Khan and this type of stuff. These were all private armies now. This is something that we need to be aware of and think this out. Don't think we are above the uncivilized. This is Mike. NoStressMike.com.